Welcome everyone, it is issue 0 of The Story So Far, and the topic this evening is going to be The Story So Far. I'm going to tell you about what this channel is going to be about, what you can expect from it, and why it exists, I guess. People have been asking me why I got rid of Delphi After Dark. Why did I delete the videos? Why didn't I just hide them? Things like that. I have a variety of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that I spoke with someone who is kind of familiar with the legal process and also very familiar with Richard Allen's legal processes. And concerning the appeal, there were some things that had been talked about on Delphi After Dark over the years that actually might compromise certain things within that realm. So that's one of the things that got me thinking about just taking everything down. Now, when you look at, I'm going to give you a little example here. I started thinking one day, you classic movies and things like that, right? Say, for example, Jaws. And for a while I thought, it would be really great with the CGI we have now, all these, various things we can do with cameras and all that, and now AI. Wouldn't it be great if they could make an updated version of Jaws, and have, use all that stuff, and how cool could it be, Now, you delve a little deeper into that, you realize that you probably couldn't do better than Spielberg did with Jaws, right? So it's a classic and everything. But many, many times, you think of something and you think, well, hey, we could do that better now because we have this or we know that, Some of the things like the progression and the speculation and the discussions and everything from Delphi After Dark went in several different directions, and it took a while before we actually had enough information to focus on what was the most important thing. And along the way, I'm sure that there were several things that people would watch, and then they watch something a couple episodes later or whatever, and then they would think, this doesn't make sense, it doesn't line up or whatever. For example, at first, when I thought Richard Allen might be involved in the murders, but yet I still was very convinced that Ron Logan was bridge guy, still him. The feeling for me was, okay, well, how could the two of them have been involved? And I started speculating on that, how the two of them both together could have been involved in the murder, right? Well, see, that kind of stuff, people see that and they don't realize how long ago it was or whatever, and it can it can get stories started going off in different directions. So I figured if we, don't have Delphi After Dark anymore, then some of the things that were on Delphi After Dark that were important that still need to be out there, we can put them out there now with a better knowledge and a better understanding of what we're reporting on, So things like the probable cause affidavit, I can now put out a better explanation of why it's bullshit. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing with this channel. The other things that I'll be doing with this channel, we're not just going to talk about Delphi. Now, in the beginning, because we have the appeal coming up, right? And we also have, we have the verbal arguments coming up, oral arguments, they say. And we also have the appeal, probably a new trial. And as I told Terrible Ted from America Betrayed when I did an interview, it'll be available soon, with him, you have a wide range, of people covering the Delphi case and everything, right? And not everybody does it the same way. Not everybody comes at it from the same direction and things like that, So you're going to have a lot of diversity there. You're going to have a lot of people that, believe things that you don't believe. We are at a point with this right now. And people, I know that I have this stupid reputation of being like the drama guy and all that. But the thing is, that's not attached, is it? No. Okay. The thing is, I never went out inviting drama, right? What was my motto? Don't start none, won't be none. And that is still my motto, and it'll always be my motto. I don't go around looking for trouble. You know, uh, don't start none, won't be none. Start some, oh, there'll be some. You know, but if you don't start it, I ain't gonna start it. You know, so it's not so much that that I was the big drama king or anything like that. The drama found me. And usually it was because of things like somebody would have some story or something, and I would say, you know, they would want to come on Delphi After Dark. And I said, all right, come on, you know. And then if I would later, you know, think, okay, now wait a minute, this doesn't go along with what you were saying, but this, you know, I found this out. They get angry, and, you know, oh, I'm calling them a liar or whatever, you know, and there it goes, it's kicked off, right? Now, this channel is going to be a little bit different. You know, going forward, like I said, we got the appeal coming up and everything, and this is the part I was talking about with Ted. You know, I said that there would probably be a new trial, and Ted said, "Oh, probably. What do you mean? There'll probably be a new trial?" And I said, "Well, the only reason I say probably is that I think there will either be a new trial, or what I think is a possibility is Carroll County will decline to prosecute if the Richard Allen conviction is voided, which I believe it will be." And why do I say Carroll County might decline to prosecute if the conviction is voided? Well, because Nick McClellan doesn't have frigid Franny Gull running interference for him anymore. You know, Gull was a one-of-a-kind judge, guys. You're not going to find too many judges that are willing to be that blatantly corrupt and, you know, hand the trial over to the prosecution. But without her, none of this could have happened. What Judge Gull did, people, you know, I hear people all the time, how could a jury have found him guilty? That doesn't make any sense to me. How could they have found him guilty? There's no evidence and all that. It's true. There's no evidence. How could they have found him guilty, right? But did Gull give them any other options? Gull gave them one option. Richard Allen is the killer. By making sure that nobody else was mentioned, none of the names of the people that had been investigated and everything, she gave him one option. You know, somebody killed those girls. And since nobody else in the world could have done it, it had to be Richard Allen. Yeah. So, you're not going to get that same kind of an easy trial without the judge running interference for you and keeping anything that harms your case off the docket. You know? So, there is a chance. If the prosecution is faced with a voided conviction and they have to do it all over again, there's a chance they might decline to prosecute. You know? So, that's why I say probably going to be a new trial. But one way or another, yeah, I am pretty sure, I am very confident that the appeals court is going to void the conviction. I really am. So, if we have to go to a new trial, there are going to be a lot of things that'll be different about this trial, but one thing that's not going to be different is the amount of stuff that's out there about the case, right? So one of the reasons that I did this, like I said, I want to kind of clear the air, remove anything that might get in the way or anything, and now I can like redo those important parts that everybody needs to have. I can do them better. I can bring in different voices, discuss things like that. Now, there was a reason I chose, when I took a month or so off or whatever and deleted the channel and everything, there was a reason that I chose my first appearance after that break to be on someone that traditionally, for the past few years, has been a very bitter rival of mine. Gibbo and I have been like, you know, for a long time. And, you know, as a matter of fact, it's like, I discovered the level of actually respect that Gibbo had for me, because when he found out I was shutting down Delphi After Dark, he actually tried to talk me out of it by saying, "Oh, chicken, you're just going to run off, huh?" and all that. And I was like, dude, I know what you're trying to do, and I appreciate it, but, you know, and I did appreciate it. But the reason I chose to do that, to come on his channel, is because traditionally, we've always been at each other's throats. It's not going to be that way anymore. I mean, we disagree. We do. Of course we do. And we'll probably be talking a lot more. And the fact that we disagree is going to come up again. But we're not going to argue about it. We're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to hash it out. And, we're going to get our truths out there. Because I don't believe Gibbo goes home at night and says, oh man, I got to think of another way to keep making Richard Allen look innocent or guilty because, he's really innocent and I want him to be in jail. And no, he believes Richard Allen did it. He believes it. He's convinced of that. So he is going to, of course, act accordingly. So, like I said, I don't think he's a bad person trying to frame Richard Allen or anything like that. No, that was, Gull and McClellan and Lesenby and them. But, people think these days that if you disagree, you must hate each other, you must be at each other's throats, you got to fight all the time, and that's just not the case. Like I said in the little introductory thing I put up on my community page, we can do better, and we got to do better. We got to do better. Those of us that remember, I had two categories of people that I talked about leading up to the trial and during the trial. The group of people that believe Richard Allen is innocent, I gave us the cute little nickname of the Free Rickies. So we're the Free Rickies. Now, the Free Rickies, we have a different month coming up. We have other things on our agenda that the people I call the bootlickers don't have. And that's the fact that we are charged with a tremendous responsibility here. We have to show the world, and I'm not being, I'm not using hyperbole here when I say the world is going to be watching this. Believe me, there are overseas, there are news agencies and everything that have been reporting on this murder, and they're going to keep doing it. It's going to be big news. So it's going to be a worldwide thing, and we have a responsibility to show up at that hearing and show the world how much support Rick has. Okay? I want as many of you as can get here to get here. This is my town. I live here, man. If you got to come for the night, you need a place to stay, I'll try to help you out. I can't put you up on the floor where I'm staying, but I'll try to find you someplace to stay. I know people. Other people know people. If you got to find someplace to stay or whatever, we got to get as many people here as we can, guys. Take vacation time from work or whatever. We got to get as many people as we can here. We got to have a huge freaking show out because we want the world to see that we believe he's innocent. And something about numbers, when people see that more, there's so many people believe this, they say, oh, maybe I should take a second look at that, So that's one of the very important things. That's one of the reasons why this channel exists. Because between now and that day that we have that appeals hearing, the oral arguments, I'm going to try to put out as much information as I can that I think is important. I'm going to put out, the theories and the supporting data for those theories that I have. I'm going to be talking to people who don't believe like I do. I'm going to be talking to people that believe that Rick is innocent, but so-and-so did it for this reason. I'm going to be talking to people that say Rick is guilty or whatever, I am not going to limit myself now to people who parrot my opinion. I never really have done that. If you've been around long enough, you know that. I've always accepted dissent, I've always said, look, hey, you can disagree with me. Just do it respectfully. Don't be a dick, And that's what I'm saying now. But we are going to do this. That's why this channel, it's called The Story So Far. There's always more to a story, guys. And if you're only listening to one side, you're doing yourself a disservice. If nothing else, you can find out why they believe that. And maybe you have a better plan to convince them otherwise. So that is part of the reason And like I said, the other, what we talked about before, there are a variety of reasons why this channel exists and why Delphi After Dark does not exist anymore. Another reason is simply that, Larry Bird, when he ran the Pacers, he had this theory. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it because it got rid of Rick Carlisle when it shouldn't have. But he had this theory that after like 3 or 4 seasons, a player stops listening to a particular coach. So you have to get rid of that coach and bring in another coach so that the players are getting fresh instructions from a fresh face and a fresh voice. And they don't ignore him like he thinks, the Pacers were tuning out Rick Carlisle after one of their best seasons ever. So, it's that kind of thing, I believe. What I feel like is it just, you go so long, people think, Delphi After Dark, yeah, I used to watch that, but, it's pretty much the same thing now. Yeah, sure it was, but now we have this, which is a new format, new show, and everything is fresh. And I think that it gives us an opportunity to change the way we do things and experiment more and, grow from the ground up. Maybe even broaden the audience because they will see that it's not going to be, a one-sided beatdown thing or anything like that. So, we're all going to learn together. We're going to grow together. We're going to discuss together. We're going to laugh together, So, yes, at first, while we're concentrating on this, it's going to be heavily focused on Delphi. Not completely. There will be other things, but it is going to be heavily focused on Delphi. Delphi will be the dominant topic. And as we move beyond that, who knows? Who knows where it's going to go? We could get to the point where we're talking about sports or, politics or, music or whatever one day and then talking about crime the next day or whatever, something like that. It's not going to be predictable. It's not going to be stale and it's not going to be canned, So, what I wanted to basically get across tonight is when I was talking to Ted, Terrible Ted from America Betrayed podcast, he said, this thing is just so big. It's bigger than I thought. It's encompassing. I can't imagine. I can't believe how many people got caught up in this. Now, you guys know, most of you do. The ones that have been watching me for a long time, you guys know what I got caught up in. You know everything I've been through. You know what I've lost because of all this. I've told this story before, that shortly after I came back from a short break and everything, after Laura left and everything was just, falling apart, there was somebody that I hadn't seen in my chat before, but they were very enthusiastic. They were glad to be there. They seemed to like me and what I was saying, And as I'm doing the show that night, I happened to look at the chat and I noticed that this person said, Rick Snay is the only person that's covering Delphi that can truly say he gave up his life for this case. Because I got to tell you something, guys. My life doesn't look a goddamn thing like it did 4 years ago. Not a thing. 4 years ago, I was married, had a house, was working and everything, had all my guitars and stuff like that. I had a life, basically, and I was living that life. And when you watch the show and everything, you learn about, you got to know me, you saw I was a happy guy, and then gradually things started to change. And Laura left, I lost my house. I, went broke, don't have a job, don't have a car, things like that, right? Yeah. See, that's the kind of stuff that happened to me, and it's directly because of my involvement with this case in one way or another, okay? Now, if you want to say it's my fault, the case can be made for that. I understand, But when that guy said that, he said, Rick Snay is the only person that can truly say he's given up his life for this case. I thought about it, and I even brought it up later to Kira. I said, did you see that guy that said that? She says, yeah. And she goes, it's kind of true. And I said, yeah, it is, So, I can tell you, yeah, I've had a lot taken away from me, and they're trying to take more. There's something going on right now that, is not going to succeed. But yeah, they're trying to take more. But this is the way I look at it. All right. I'm still better off than Rick Allen. And I still say and will say every single time, if they can do that to him, they can do it to you. They can do it to me. They can do it to my kids. They can do it to anybody. If we don't stop this now, if we don't stand up and say, this far, no further, you're not going to recognize this country and our system of laws in 15, 20 years. If they can get away with this stuff and just take people just for one reason, or another, and say, let's blame him. And without any real evidence, without any proof, without any concrete proof that you're guilty, you're going to be sitting in a prison cell. And I damn guarantee you, those of you that say, well, if you hadn't been doing what you were doing and everything, your wife and you would probably still be together. Well, you know what, coward? I'm doing it because you won't. I'm doing it because you won't fight. I will, but you won't. So I'm doing it so it doesn't happen to you. And if you happen to be one of those that are making these attempts to take from me, let me ask you this, guys. Can I lose any more than my hair? Remember how much I used to love my hair? I said, hey, I'm just going to cut it off, man. You know why? Because it was really hot and I was sweating my ass off. But it's what do they call those? Not a life lesson, but an object lesson or whatever, okay? It's something that I'm using to convey a message, all right? You took everything from me, sure, yeah, but I'm still here, okay? And you're going to have to keep trying, and eventually you're going to stop because you can't get what you want. So I'm not going to go away. All of these people are not going to go away. You're going to find on, September 18th, the day of the oral arguments, you're going to find that there are a lot of people that simply aren't going to take it anymore. We're just not going to. And we're going to show up en masse in great numbers and show you what you're up against. Okay? Now, why do I feel like I need to do this thing? Why do I feel like I need to be involved in this? Everybody's like, oh, he's doing it because he wants attention. He's trying to make money off of the girl, and all that, Like I said, guys, I got a hell of a lot more of attention when I used to get up on stage and sing and stuff. Okay, when I was singing for Mossback, when I sang in Effigy, when I got up and subbed, for Not Your Daddy and Crambone and sang with Crambone, I got a hell of a lot more attention and a lot more good kind of attention than I get doing this. So if I wanted attention, I'd go back to doing that. I am honestly after what I said I'm after, to make sure they can't just do this whenever they feel like it. And to make sure that my little sister Kathy's Ricky gets back to her, because she misses him and she wants him back. And I promised her that we would get him back, and we're gonna. So, those of you that don't have the guts for it, that's fine. Just stay out of our way. Okay? Now, I know there's a lot of people out there, this community, as we call it, the Delphosphere, the community of the Free Rickies and stuff, all of us that believe Richard Allen is innocent, and we are working toward getting him freed, okay? We are one big community, right? We need to come together. Now, I'm not talking about sing kumbaya, everybody agree with everybody. That's never going to happen. But as much as you can't stand Joe Blow, and he can't stand you, let's put it off at least until after this is over, okay? And just stop hacking on each other and concentrate more on hacking on the people that we need to bring down, okay? Because myself, I want these sons of bitches. I want them. I want to bring them down. And I want them to have to do the perp walk. I want them to have to face the cameras and the reporters saying, why did you frame this guy? Things like that. I want the world to see their corruption and the level of just filth and disgust that these people exist in. I want to shine a light on the whole and watch them scatter like cockroaches. So, we got to come together. We got to unite in an effort to move forward and get the word out and show the world the support that Richard Allen has. Okay? And I might say, because I'm getting ready to wrap it up here. I was shooting for about a half hour. That's what I'm wanting here. At some point, there are too many cooks in the kitchen or whatever. You always hear that. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians, stuff like that, right? Some people are just equipped to lead. Some people are just equipped to be out in front. And, basically putting themselves out there and leading by example and things like that. Others aren't. Others, want to lead by trying to eliminate the others that might be able to lead. And that's the wrong way to go, especially with this kind of a thing. Now, I've talked before about, and for those of you that are new, when I say this, I'm not bragging about that thing that I have where I can't feel fear. I'm not saying, I am fearless, I can feel fear. No, it's a defect, It would be like bragging about, having a third eye or something like that, some weird thing. As a matter of fact, when I talked to the doctor about it, when they first talked to me about it and everything, and they said that there could be chemical reasons and physical reasons in the brain and the amygdala and all that. And I said, oh, so I'm a mutant. I can join the X-Men. And the doctor said, no, mutation is helpful. It helps you survive. That's what evolution's all about. You mutate, and that's evolving. And he said, what you have going on here is not helpful. And it's not. Because when you are unable to feel fear, you don't have that little voice in you saying, hang on, hold on a minute here. Look what could happen here. So sometimes I do things without thinking of what the consequences could be, because I don't have that little level there that steps in and says, hold on now. It's like if you can't feel pain, there are people out in the world that can't feel pain. I used to know a guy that couldn't feel pain, And when you can't feel pain, that's like I said, pain is supposed to be helpful. You put your hand on a hot stove, that pain tells you take your hand off of there before it turns into a freaking block of charcoal. Block of charcoal. A brick of charcoal, whatever. You're going to pull back a stump if you can't feel that pain, because that pain's telling you, get your damn hand off the stove. It's the same thing with fear. Fear is telling you, don't go down there. Someday, maybe, I'm going to go somewhere that little voice said didn't say not go down there, and I'm not going to come back, So it's not like I'm bragging or anything like that. It's not something to brag about. But if you have something like that, why not make the best of it? That's why I said, what the hell? I just, got a job as a bouncer at the pub, I'm almost 60 years old. I'm out there bouncing these freaking 20-something kids and everything. And when you have something like this, it's like maybe it's a defect or whatever. Take advantage of it if you can and do some good with it. Okay, guys, I can lead. I've done it all my life. When I first got into politics, 2 times I joined at a certain position, and before long I was managing the campaign, because I simply saw that the people that were doing the jobs weren't capable of doing them. They weren't capable of leading. I can lead, and I will, and I'm going to. You can join me, you can follow, or you can get out of our way. All right? But I will be out front, and I will lead, because that's what I need. That's where I do best. That's what I do. I speak, I'm vocal, I stand up in the face of authority, and I say, F you. And people see that. Maybe I take the lumps while you go around me and you score the touchdown or whatever. That's fine, I don't care. But I'm one of the people in this community that can lead, and I'm going to. All right? That's one of the reasons that I decided I'm putting down this stupid stuff of arguing every time, all the time, being at each other's throats and everything. You want to make videos about me, make fun of me, go ahead. Just make sure they're funny, okay? Make sure they make me laugh. It's not going to be the way it used to be. Real talk is gone, man. Now it's going to be straight talk. And we're going to reach our goal. We're going to achieve it. We don't have any choice. We have to, and we will. All right? Like I said, I don't have to be the man in charge of everything. Every great movement needs several leaders. So I'm not saying I'm going to run the show, man, or anything like that. I'm saying I'm going to lead. I'm going to be in front. And if you want to be up there with me, fine. If you're capable of doing it. But if not, follow or get the hell out of the way. Deal? Okay, now, we will be, I'm looking at having a live stream at some point, but there are some things coming up that I want to do. There's some channels I want to hit and do some appearances, interviews, things like that on. And, very importantly, right now, everything's all go, it looks like, for August 4th for the book to be available. For those of you that don't know, my book, my book, which is called Delphi After Dark, of course, it is, like I said, it'll be a little under 300 pages, 42 chapters, and an afterword, and a prologue, and I think there might be some kind of like a foreword or something in there. But, I got everything else written, but I was thinking about doing a foreword. I'd actually asked someone to do it, and I never heard back from them, so I might pick somebody else. But, it has been written. It will be available. It will be published, So if anybody's telling you, man, Schnee didn't really buy the book, man, there's at least 50 people out there that know I did, for a fact. Including Gibbo, because I sent it to him. It will be available right now, as far as we know, Tuesday, the 4th of August, which is like a week from Tuesday. I'll keep you, as we get closer to that date, I'll keep you up to date on everything. I'll let you know the final pricing so you know what you're dealing with. Like I said, I don't know how long it takes because it's print to order right now. If we can raise the $1,500 I needed before to do the print, the widespread distribution print thing and all that, that's great. But right now, I haven't been able to raise it. I had a lot of people promised me money and didn't deliver on that, which is, hey, that's fine, But why'd you promise it in the first place? But we're going to go ahead and do it this way because it's what we got. So we're going to take advantage of it and do it that way, right? And so right now, at this point, it's going to be print to order. When you look and you order a book, it will be printed and sent to you. I don't know how long that process takes. I can try and get some information for you. If you would like to order a book, okay, and if you would like to order a book and make, and have it come to you and have it signed or whatever, you could. I have a PayPal and a Cash App right now that I could use. That I will put the information up on the channel, community page or whatever. If you want to send the money now, and then I will send you the book when it comes in. I'll sign it for you and send it to you. That's fine. I can do that. You will get a book. You're not going to get ripped off. Whatever you want to do. You want to wait until it comes out Tuesday and order it that way. That's fine too. So, but I don't think you're going to be. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It's. I think it's good. I really do. And everybody that's read it thinks it's good. Kathy has read it. She liked it. So I think people are going to be pleased with it. There's a lot of information in it. A lot of stuff that, people have been asking me for years. What happened here? How did this happen? Well, it's all in there. Cohen is in there, Mark Cohen. The story with him, the photo leaks and everything. The annoying person with that. I'm trying to do this. No. Here they come. Getting closer. Anyway, that's the book. It will be available Tuesday, August 4th. I will get back on as soon as I can to like provide you a few more things. I'll probably do a couple more of these little introductory things right here before the actual launch of the channel itself, because this is kind of a soft launch thing right here. And I'll have more information for you as we go, you know. So until then, I will talk to you later, and let's come together, man. Let's do this thing, because it's important. All right, I'll talk to you later on. You guys enjoy your weekend.